Hey, it's not the hours. I mean,
Call it more hours. Start with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving right along. We have a public hearing tonight for the food truck for Chad Bennett.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, in your packet, I put the application and a copy of the ordinance that I received from the town clerk. In addition to that, the Arundel Staff Review Committee also did a administrative conditional use permit application for Lil's Dog Food Cart. From what I understand, Chad's daughter will be operating a food cart which will be on Champion's property in front of the auto body. The access will be from the auto body's entrance. It appears that they'll be operating it from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Evidently daily, the application doesn't say any different. Everything was in order. They took out the seasonal amount of $250 for the season. From what I can gather, this is the summer job for Chad's daughter. She's fairly young and wanted to get her involved in business, and this was their opportunity. So,
Anybody have any, if we can discuss that later?
Yeah, question.
Yep, go ahead.
What is it? I am not familiar with.
just a hot dog
Hot
cart.
dog stand.
Oh, hot dog, that's what
Yeah, she's gonna run hot dogs.
Oh,
Just
good.
sell hot dogs. Yep.
I didn't know what, you food vendor, you never know what. That's why I was, good. Thank you.
All right, close the public hearing. Approval of the agenda.
I'd like to add a couple items to the agenda, Mr. Chair.
Before we approve them, let's hear them.
Committee and board reports, I wanna add an RSU 21, meeting. And then under new business, I'd like to talk a little bit about the audiovisual requirements for the municipal building, new municipal building. And specifically for our meetings. Our meetings and planning board meetings.
All right, motion to approve is amended.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Phil, seconded by Velma, all those in favor? Public forum.
Yeah.
Marty, you got your hand up.
Question. One of the reasons I'm here. Saw the article in the Bit of a Journal about the school and how the decision was held up by the Supreme Court and how the RSU has been overcharging the town of Arundel and everything else. Is that gonna be discussed tonight?
I'm not familiar with the overcharging.
Either am I.
Yeah. And
Well, the reason I'm saying it, I think if I read the article correctly, Tams was charging $9,300 and turnaround costs, in the article it said turnaround in the RSU was 13 something, and if, otherwise it could save the town taxpayers $750,000. That's why I'm asking the question.
So the state sets the tuition amount.
Huh?
The state sets the tuition amount.
Correct.
And so if it's $9,300, that's what they pay TAMS, regardless of what it might cost.
Right, that's what it goes to Tams.
Right,
But turnaround RSU is 13
right,
something
right,
for us.
But it
Well,
might,
for the district.
right.
it might cost TAMS $14,000 to educate a student, but the state gives them,
I'm just asking a question. I don't know how it goes. I'm just
Is that
throwing it
correct?
out.
yeah,
It's misleading maybe or anything else. I'm just throwing it out the way the article was written or the way I kinda read it. And I didn't know if that was part of of the things that are going on? That's a question I'm only asking.
Jack, go ahead.
I think I can explain this fairly clearly, if I may. That's right, the $9,300 is the state mandated average tuition. The 13.5 or whatever the number was, is the average school, average RSU cost, which now includes $55 million worth of debt, all that. For the kids that have gone from Mildred Day to Tams, the essence of it is that they're gonna have, that RSU is gonna have to reimburse Tams for past students that have not been paid for, because there's an issue with those payments. And the $750,000 comes from the fact that if all of those kids had gone to MSK and not to TAMS, that's the amount that the RSU would have saved if that had taken place. As it is, 80% of the kids go to MSK, and 15–20% still go to TAMS, and that number is declining each year. But nevertheless, it's a big dollar amount. In these current, the upcoming school budget, $450,000 has been set aside in case the suit was lost. Now, there's still lots of issues to be worked out as to when and if TAMS gets all they want, but that's another story. So
I thank you.
Yeah, the article was very misleading, because for every kid that goes to MSK, there's only a marginal cost increase. There's not a $13,000 increase. For every kid that goes to MSK, it costs $300 to $500 in marginal cost. You don't add teachers, you don't add building, you don't add anything except a few books. And so those savings are real. That if the child goes to MSK, the state reimburses a portion of it, and of course, we as taxpayers don't have to pay anymore, because the incremental cost isn't anything. You know, it's nickels and dimes.
But the article was, the article kind of, the way I read the article, it said that it was actually cheaper to send kids to TAMS than it was to do here, and that didn't make sense to me.
Deliberately for that reason. It's simply not true. We pay out $9,300 for each kid, but in fact, it only, for us to have that same child go to MSK, it might be $500. So we're really saving $13,000 or $9,000, nearly $9,000 per child. Up until a point where you know, if enough kids change, then maybe you add a teacher here and there. But right now, the incremental costs are nothing. You get to add kids for essentially free. So that's, the article was misleading. The same verbiage has been used in the past by the press.
So if you had a teacher, it's what, 40,000?
A teacher?
Yeah,
No, a fully burdened teacher, average, you know, you've got some young teachers, but lots of teachers getting a lot more, is probably 80,000, fully burdened.
yeah.
But the point you're making is, if you had a junior high program here in the district,
Yeah.
and you added 2 or 3 extra kids to that,
Correct.
the cost of that is minuscule.
Yes.
Compared to whether you had 30 kids coming, then you would have to
Then we're.
add a new
add a teacher.
teacher, more support staff, that kind of thing.
And even so, you still save money, as opposed to 30 kids times $9,300.
Alright, anything else non-agenda
Thank you.
related? Thanks, Jack. Approval of the minutes, July 8th.
Motion to approve is written.
A second?
Motion made by Dan, seconded by Tom. All those in favor? RSU 21 committee report.
Okay, Monday, July 15th. Consent agenda items, let's see, the nomination of Jennifer Pinkelman, second grade Kennebunk, teacher at KES. $41,865. Nomination of Dennis St. Pierre, .17 theater teacher at KHS, $8,403. And nomination of Maria Cody, kindergarten teacher at KES, salary of $60,744. And let me see, those got approved. Old business, very, very lengthy on the enrollment task force, as you would imagine. So the board made a motion to rescind the July 3rd motion. The July 3rd motion was to, if you recall, was to look at recommendation 6, take out option 1, and go back and kind of put together all the pertinent information and report back to the school board by December 31st. They rescinded that. They made a motion, that got approved, they made a motion to revisit recommendation 6, and all options, including any additional options, and report back to the board by December 31st, and they were gonna report back to the board on all the pertinent information, you know, how much is it gonna cost, whatever option they recommend, or whatever options they come up with. What are the costs, are they gonna require additional busing, you know, all of that stuff, so. And I would imagine that the busing issue with this school time, this might throw a kink into some of that too, but there was some discussion on the school start time too, that kind of threw a little bit of kink into that, but anyways, they're gonna look at that and, report back by the 31st, by the end of the year, on what their recommendations were. As you can imagine, there was a ton of public input, mostly from Arundel citizens, Kennebunkport citizens, and there was a handful of Kennebunk citizens that kind of made their opinions known. The next item was a diversity, equity, and inclusion update. So the administration has gone through some sort of training, and Phil kind of suggested that maybe the rest of the board members go through that training. The issue with that training is if they do that, there are evaluations that go along with that training, and those evaluations become open to the Freedom of Information Act, and there was some concern, board members, on that. They don't, you know, because of their business or the companies that they work for or what have you, they felt that it was kind of a little bit of an invasion in privacy. So they weren't all on board with that, so they tasked Phil with trying to look for other types of training. Let's see. They talked about a school board training proposal. Really what they're trying to do is get the school board to work together and to trust one another. You know, there's been comments amongst the board members over time that, you know, there's no trust there. There's no trust amongst the admin, there's no trust among the, some of the board members. It's not that it's huge, but that's in there. So they're trying to work towards trying to put all of that together. Getting back to the enrollment task force, what they did is they came up with a committee charge, and that charge will include a principal from each school, a board member from each town, a community member from each town, And, they asked that maybe each of the different towns, if they want, they can, create subcommittees. They didn't want this to be so long, so huge, they didn't want a 18, 19, 20 member committee. So they're trying to keep it down, I think the number is 12. So, if there are more folks from, let's say, Arundel that wanted to get involved, then they had to form a subcommittee. If more folks from Kennebunkport wanted, then they had to form a subcommittee and report back to their respective committee member. And then Phil and Steve are, resource members. Let's see. District diversity and equity and inclusion, at this point so far, they've spent, $15,894 on that. The investigation, independent investigation, you might have heard, they've spent a little over 78,000 so far, which is coming out of fiscal year 19 funds. There's at least $6,000 more, coming out that they know of, but there is definitely a lot more that's still coming, for, the firm that is doing, one of the firms that is doing that investigation. They plan on having that completed by the end of August, or the findings to the board by the end of August. So far, they've interviewed 24 individuals, and, again, they will have all those findings, by the end of August. Mary Beth, was asked again about an apology, and, she felt that it just was way too early for that. She wanted to wait for the complete findings, before, issue an apology. But she did stated, she wanted to state an apology of that, that, she is sorry that everyone has gone through this, sorry that community members have gone through this, sorry that board members have gone through this, sorry that, Rosa Flack and company have gone through this. So she kind of made a little statement on that. It was a little, presentation on a communication framework from, Tim Stiniford. Talked about a district in crisis, working towards full transparency and trust. Human Resources was looking for some direction on the interim superintendent. They talked about which way they wanna go with that. And then there was also a discussion on maybe that position should be more than 1 year. They felt that it would take more than 1 year. And, the rest of the agenda, they didn't go through, because it was 11 o'clock and we adjourned at 11 o'clock, so. I think I got everything. I kinda did a lot more listening than writing, but, yeah, I got everything.
Nice, Sam. Marty, you got your hand up.
Question.
Nope.
Through all that.
Yeah.
Are our students going to go play the bounce game that are normally the grades that are here now, gonna get shuffled over to Kennebunk, and are they gonna stay here?
That hasn't been determined yet, so part of the enrollment task force is to go back and take a look at that. They've got a lot of flack from Arundel, a lot of flack from Kennebunkport about trying to do that, so the committee is gonna get put together and kinda look at options.
Because I think, I personally, and I haven't read it or anything else, but I think that when you go to school, whatever, 1 through 4, whatever else on, for an example, you don't go 1 through 2 and then get jumped over to another school at that younger age.
Yeah, that was a
I
sentiment
mean,
that was
I'm
shared
just,
by a lot of folks.
I'm just saying it, that's one of the reasons why, I don't even have kids in the school system. I'm just,
But they have a real crisis over in Kennebunkport. They have
that's
a
their
real big
crisis,
issue.
but
I
not,
understand, but we're one district, Marty. I know we're 3 towns, but we're one district. So they gotta try to figure that out, right? They just can't say, well, screw you, Kennebunkport. They gotta try to figure something out. So I give them kudos for trying to do this. It's a tough freaking thing to figure out, it really is. And try to please everybody, but we are one district and they're gonna try to figure out and do what's best for everybody, I hope.
Mr. Manager.
I'm being nice.
Yeah, the first thing that I have for you is the hazardous waste day has been established for October 22nd in Kennebunk. We've done this since I've been here.
26?
26, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Did I say the 22nd?
Yeah,
Dyslexic, I guess. Yes, and we've been doing this with them for a number of years now. Last year, I think our cost was about $1,800 for this. We had seen, because it's been going on for so long, I think now they're capturing more of the materials that may have, that folks are now being able to take and not accumulate as many as they've had in the past. So hopefully it continues that way. We'll begin to publicize this a little bit more, put it up at the transfer station, and hopefully get a good turnout for the Arundel folks.
you gonna put in the arrow also? I think there's-
Yeah, we've got an Arrow publication coming up in August, so yeah, we'll get it in that as well. Along with my next thing would be the transfer station punch card implementation. We've got the cards, we've started collecting funding at the town hall already. It's been advertised in the website. I've advised the Casella folks to begin to post it and put things up there. So hopefully it's gonna be a seamless transition, but.
Is it over, have you seen anything over at the transfer station, Tom? I haven't been in a couple of weeks.
Not yet.
Yeah, he sold half a dozen, I think he said, Saturday.
Okay, up at the transfer station?
I bought one, but I bought it with cash, so there's still nothing to take checks.
Right, right, yeah.
amount?
20 and 40.
20 and 40, $20 punch card and $40 punch card.
So I think we need to make sure that we get a notice out there as soon as possible about not taking cash.
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah, we put it in the notice and publicize it on the website that way, so people understand that if they wanna pay by cash, they need to come to the town hall, and they can pay by check, cash, credit card, whatever they want at that particular point, cause we can take it all.
See if Simone can put that on Facebook and make it shareable, because that way if I see it on Facebook, I can share it, and it's amazing how fast information gets out on Facebook.
Put it
Oh, really?
on chatter.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think we've already talked about the other one, the law court's ruling on the middle school choice. There's not much more that I can elaborate. I just didn't know if you knew, wanted to make sure you had the information in the event that folks may have contacted you in reference to it, so. To me, from this point forward, it seems like it's settled law, so it's up to them now administratively to try to make it work, whatever it may be, so. And I think that the next three things that I have here, pretty much just giving some background. The law court has been at work on our behalf on a couple cases. The first one was York 18250, where it appears that they agreed with the town's arguments, and that the individual members of the Boys Landscape did not have standing when they argued to appeal certain cases. As a result of that, that has been memorialized by the court in the first case. In the second case, for us, it got dismissed because, again, it was individuals that were bringing the case, and the law court indicated that they didn't have standing anyway, so it shouldn't even come. It should have been dismissed at the local level. And the tickler for us there was the Strickler order that we were trying to implement upon individuals bringing frivolous lawsuits, not only against the town, but particularly against individuals that work on boards or committees for the town, so they're not undue pressured, based on what they're trying to do. That sort of got thrown out only because it was on the individuals and not, I think, on the efforts that were being done. And then finally, we have a stay order on a case that's in Superior Court right now, simply waiting for the DEP's review and, their final order as to what they're going to do with the boys' livestock moving forward. As I understand through the grapevine, the DEP may be entertaining discussions with the boys in terms of trying to negotiate some sort of settlement. And our lawyer, Mr. Wall, in that particular case, indicates that maybe we wanna get involved in that, so, because, the land use ordinance locally is gonna have some impact on what they do moving forward, so, though, in a nutshell, is where we are with these cases. In retrospect, for me, this is my own personal comment, I'm disappointed that we ever got to this point. I was hopeful when we all sat in Portland, about 2 or 3 years ago now, and we hammered out a consent decree. We felt that was going to settle a lot of this stuff. Lou, in my wildest dreams, I think that anybody would rationally look at that agreement and interpret it any different than what all the courts have already indicated how we've interpreted it. So that was unfortunate, and hopefully we can move on from that and get this wrapped up. So
In the meantime,
Chair.
while the DEP is still deciphering what to do, they're still in business, right? They're still in business pooling.
as far as I know, they're still operating. They're still processing material. They're still selling material. I've seen their trucks move around. I'm not quite sure how the DEP handles that. Whether, they haven't made a ruling, so I'm not sure if they're going to take any effort to prohibit that from happening at this point, so.
If they enter into some sort of agreement, just kind of throws, their permit is expired, and
Right, that's
And
the
now
other
it's-
part of this whole process, is that where does the town come? I mean, they can have all the agreements they want in the world with the law court and the Superior Court, but they still have to, our ordinance still holds some sort of.
now
Well, the problem is the consent decree basically deferred, we deferred
That's
to
true.
DEP.
Yep.
They said, if you got a DEP permit, you're good to go. That was the
that
consent.
was, you're right.
So, our participation, as far as land use ordinance is concerned, is probably not gonna be very effective at this point in time.
Now, that would be only if they use the consent decree and find a normal solution to the matter.
Right, if they get a DEP permit on some basis, then we're kinda stuck, I think,
Okay.
with our agreement at that point in time. I guess you gotta wait. But I think if they're DEP's negotiating something, I would hope that they would be in contact with you and let you know what's going on.
I haven't heard anything. I've reached out to our town attorney, who's reached out to DEP, still haven't heard anything. So, it's kind of whether they're waiting for the summer to end, I'm not sure.
Right.
How things happen in the summer, everybody goes on vacation, and some of these issues sort of get put by the wayside until they get back, so.
Where do we go? If the DEP comes some sort of consent agreement, it is now, it's a non-conforming use, it's not like a grandfather use anymore.
Yeah, but I think
That's what the basis of the consent agreement was, that it was a grandfather's use.
Right,
That's why we caved, so to speak.
Right.
We were in a tough spot with that issue.
we still are,
But anyway.
okay.
So, I guess we'll just wait. I'll keep you apprised as to what we find out as we move through, but,
We had an attorney's fees award in one of those cases. that
yes,
stood,
one of the
so-
cases that stood, so
Right.
we should be getting
Yeah.
attorney fees in reference to that.
Hmm.
And that was done by Mr. Wall, so I'll have to reach out to him to see, or was it?
No, that was Leah.
No, that was Leah,
That was later.
that's right.
Yeah.
I'll reach out to
Yeah.
her and make sure that, we follow up on that, thanks.
So whatever DEP decides, we live with.
Well, Tom makes up a good point, if they're gonna stretch it, if it's gonna be linked to the consent decree, yeah, we tried to say something consent decree, that as long as you met DEP approval, you were okay with us. And then they didn't follow through with it, so that was my issue with the consent decree being null and void, but, you know, the argument could be made as, that it isn't null and void until we iron this out. Because they honestly interpreted it differently than everybody else did.
So if they don't operate properly, the only thing we'd be able to do is report to DEP
That's correct.
and let them deal with it.
DEP would be the enforcement piece on this, yes. There any other,
They're doing it now.
that's right,
And so, okay.
and we continue to do that, Phil, you're right.
Marty?
Okay. The one with, reacting with the planning board, was that 18,362?
Marty's the one that got prevailed, so it's 18,250?
No, you got 250 and 362.
Right.
Is that the one that turned out that we were all being sued and everything else?
It was 362.
Yeah.
Yes, but that was through Mr. Walsh.
Right.
That was
No, that was.
Yes, it was through Mr. Walsh because he took that case on, through Mr. Walsh, turned that case on because it was individuals. And he said if it was any of us had questions, we could contact him directly.
Correct.
So it is Mr. Walsh on that case.
No, Leah was. I'm looking at the decision there, and she's on the bottom here as counsel.
On 362. On 250,
Walls.
Walls was, and you were represented by Attorney Wall
Right.
in that case.
Yes.
Yeah, and that one's been dismissed.
So both of them have been now bye-byes,
Correct,
Right.
so they're past and gone.
correct.
Now, okay, now as the other situation is, by the Superior Court, they were totally, they weren't grandfathered anymore. Because the fact is, after so many years, even with the dissent decree, because they did not meet the criteria to let even DEP on site or anything else, because they refused the DEP to even come on site. And then they had, correct me if I'm wrong, multiple, and I think I'm speaking of at least 6 different episodes of violations with the DEP, between water and everything else. How could they even be considered a thought of operation in town again?
Well, I think that's what we just discussed. We agreed to the consent decree. They argued a portion of the consent decree. If the DEP uses a consent decree as part of their negotiating settlement, then we have to honor our part of that, which we said that we would grandfather them if they met DEP approvals.
But grandfather turned out, in this town, usually anything runs out after 2 years with no permit.
2 years if you're not operating.
Right.
You don't need a permit if you're grandfathered. You lose your grandfather status if you stop the operation over a 2 or 3 year period of time. I can't remember what the ordinance says, but if you're still going,
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna ask you the question this, is the selectmen gonna grant the permit? Because we can't turn on this planning board.
we,
You wouldn't have to grant anything.
No.
there's no permit to grant.
There's no permit to grant.
DEP is,
So there's no fines to operate or anything else after all this.
it's all in the hands of DEP.
We'll just have to wait and see what they come up with. I mean, you know, I have some concerns with it, but at this point, it doesn't help to speculate. We'll just have to wait and see what they come up with.
Alright, moving on. Old business. You need us to approve the first payment for the fire truck.
Yeah, that and, I think I also need to have you, approve the withdrawal of $100,000 as a down payment for the fire truck. So what's happening right now is that the Community Leasing Partners has provided us a package it's gone to the attorney. Leah is working through language pieces on it, but part of what, it's indicated in there is that there had to be some sort of board approval to make the first annual payment on that truck, which will be in August of this year. And in addition to that, not only that payment, but, we'll need, some action on the $100,000 down payment that we'll have to put on the truck. Once all the lease package, material has been approved, through the attorney. So what I'm really looking for, well, before I get there, I just wanna rest your minds at ease as to what kind of money we have sitting in our accounts to pay these with this. Right now, the fire department capital equipment account is $134,940.90. And the utility safety TIF has $62,054.58. In addition to that, this year, we also put aside $45,000 additional dollars for the capital reserve fund for fire equipment. So that gives us $241,996.48. So, once we approve, withdrawing $100,000 as a down payment, leaves $141,996.48, which would certainly make our first year's payment, for the truck.
But the TIF is zero then, pretty much, right?
Yeah, well, we got another 60 or so thousand that will be coming in. We anticipate anywhere between 57 and 62,000 moving forward in the TIF. So what we'll do is we'll just have to balance whatever we have in the TIF from the capital reserve to make the payments as we move forward with this. But I think at least half of the payments of that truck will be paid through the TIF, which would be a good thing.
So you want a motion for 97,878.76,
Correct?
and then you'll need another motion for the down payment.
Yes.
Okay, so I will
Sure.
make a motion that, we make the first payment for $97,878.76.
So motion's been made by Dan,
Second.
seconded by Tom. We have a question from the public.
Yes.
All right.
What part of this TIF is this coming from?
So
We have two
utility,
TIFs.
so utility safety TIF,
Okay, what
That
about the
was-
TIF from seasonal cottages?
that's totally different.
Can't-
Utility
can't-
safety TIF was put together strictly for fire service.
Okay, that's why I was just
Yep.
wondering, I mean,
All right, all those in favor of, the first motion? I'll abstain, of course. Another gray area here. All right, looking for another motion
Good job.
for, the down payment, right?
100,000.
100,000.
I'll make that motion.
Motion's made by Dan,
I'll second again.
seconded by Tom. Any discussion on that? All those in favor? With one abstention.
Thank you.
And you did confirm, interest rate?
Yep.
That was all, okay. Even though it didn't make sense?
It
Doesn't make any
that
sense
was
to me.
weird.
what's the interest rate?
They honor it.
It was, the interest rate was 3 point,
Good interest rate then.
1.8, I think.
That's enough said.
Yeah.
3.18, and when you did the math, it just didn't come out right. But they honored it.
They honor the payment.
All right, coming back around, new business, the food truck license for Chad Bennett. So we are looking for a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Motion been made by Velma, seconded by Dan. Any more discussion on the food truck? All those in favor? Selectmen committee assignments.
Yeah, my apologies, we didn't have this in the last packet, but, generally there, you folks have picked and chosen which ones you really wanted to be a part of, so, boards and committees, the appeals board,
I got that.
you do,
Yeah.
Tom?
I have that, I got assessment review and comprehensive plan.
Is that you?
Okay.
It's on page, I don't know what page,
That's all right, I'm getting there.
page 35.
Anybody else on those appeal, assessment, or comprehensive plan?
So comprehensive plan is Tom and I, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Budget
I
board.
think what we'll do is we'll put them all together, then we'll approve it as a slate of committee member appointments.
Budget board is all of us, right?
Yep.
I'll take the RSU finance committee again.
Okay, Bill.
I'll stick with the directors' meetings.
Okay, Dan.
I signed up for planning board even though I didn't attend many.
And I'll try to do the same thing, I mean, when I can, it makes it tough, but.
So now I know who to look for.
I don't think we have one for the ad hoc committee for the Arundel Fire Rescue Corporation. I think that's sort of been, non-applicable at this point. The building committee has been all of them.
All of us,
All of us,
yes.
yeah.
Okay, so I have, I've got Tom for the appeals board, Tom for the assessment review board, the budget board, all board members, comprehensive plan review committee, both Tom and Dan, planning board, both Jason and Dan, finance committee, Velma, the directors, meeting, Dan, the building committee is all selectmen.
Can you put me down for the fire rescue corp, so I have two like everybody else, even though we don't do it?
Since you're there.
You can't, you have to abstain from that.
I have to abstain from that committee.
Yeah.
See, I offered guys, but. You need a motion for that or no?
That would be great to have a motion.
So moved.
Okay,
Alright, made by Dan,
Second.
seconded by Phil, I'll give it to you, Phil.
Oh, yeah,
All those in favor?
that works.
thanks.
Alright, the special town meeting warrant.
Yes,
This should be for
the language, I believe, that, the special town meeting, if you remember, this is on the street design and construction ordinance. Planning board was gonna make some changes in the subdivision review regulations, they wanted to make the changes in the ordinance, they came forward to give you some changes. You changed it just a little bit, instead of just US 111 and Route 1, you put it, said street connections is a state of Maine highway, so we left it at that. The only thing I've done here that's different is that I've scheduled it, and we can change it if you like, I've scheduled it for Monday, August 5th, which is not a meeting of the board. Your meeting actually would be the following Monday. So if we're only gonna have this as business, we'd probably be here, what, 4 or 5 minutes, so I'm not sure if you want to just incorporate it within your, meeting on the, I think it's the,
I would make that a motion that we have this as part of our regular business meeting, we do this first and then.
okay,
Is there any urgency? I mean.
I don't think so.
Okay. There is?
Is there?
I think it possibly holds up the construction
Of what?
of the daycare center
Up on Route
On
111.
111.
on Route 111.
Oh, BDF.
Yes, because otherwise, if you recall, part of the discussion was the two entrance.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
At the new steel building.
Yeah, they're putting up another building for daycare,
Right.
cause the one that they got's filled already.
No kid,
Has that been approved already?
Can't approve it unless, then you have,
Yes, it
Well, you
is.
can approve it and say you gotta have 2 entrances if that's what it says.
this is required, saying it's not required by DOT. Otherwise, turn on the specification, said it was by DOT. So it
Right.
doesn't require DOT requirement, but in our ordinance says that we have to have 2
correct.
Right, and you guys changed the language of this, the last time I saw this, it said something of DOT required to.
But they're saying they're not, but but the fact is, this gives the latitude of turning on, going
I
through
understand what it
it.
does, I'm just saying the language
Yeah.
we saw last time spoke in terms of MDOT not allowing 2 entrances.
Correct.
Now it doesn't say that.
Yeah,
Correct, you're right,
good point.
you're right.
Doesn't say anything about
Well,
DOT.
That's
This
a good
doesn't-
point, I didn't pick up on it.
This doesn't say anything about DOT.
Right.
It just says the planning board may permit
Right.
commercial subdivisions or commercial projects generating 250 trips or more per day to establish a single street connection if said street connection is to a state of Maine highway.
That's the way it's written now. I'm
That's the way it's
sorry,
written now.
beforehand, Turner said, that's why,
Right.
for the
Before it was,
application.
before it said MDOT, if the MDOT rejected
Right,
the two,
then
then,
it was okay.
then it was okay,
Yeah.
then you'd be able to come forward.
I-
So I'm not quite sure why it changed.
That should still be in there.
It'd be my thought then that we hold off on this, we still got some time. I'll get that language straightened out.
Unless did you guys discuss the change in the language?
I think at the last meeting, they were trying to push it forward so that it turned out it can be done, so they can start to try to be ready.
No, what I mean is, did you guys discuss why you changed the language from what was originally proposed? Was there any talk about that? Was there a
Because it
reason
was-
for it?
Part of it, I think it was in subdivision or anything else, and I don't have my notes with me. But like I said, sooner we can, that project can get it approved. I mean,
Yeah, but the stickler now, and I see the point, is the only reason we were even thinking about it was the fact that they had requested to, and they weren't being able to get it from NDOT.
Right.
And that's why they were gonna get the exception.
So there were two pieces of this, right? There was us changing
Yeah.
our hours, which should include if the DOT rejects it, and the other piece was the planning board working on their ordinance to take all that stuff out of that and point to this.
Right, I don't think they plan on doing that. At least that's not the feeling I got, they were moving
They
the
should,
street.
because
yeah, it
otherwise-
wasn't so that he didn't need a second entrance.
No, I'm talking about the fact that your subdivision regulations even talk about street
But you can still
designs.
leave that in the subdivision, but turn on, not on a commercial.
But I'm not gonna get hung up on the
Yeah.
Right.
subdivision regulations,
I-
I'm only hung up on this.
Yeah, so I think we ought to check with Tad to see what the urgency is from this applicant.
Okay.
And if it's very urgent, then maybe we have it on the fifth, but if it's not urgent, then we have
Okay.
it at our regular
Well,
business meeting.
I would recommend that you not sign this right now until I get that all cleared, and then I'll have to
Yep.
bring it back either, if I have to, I can call an emergency meeting if we have to in order to sign it.
Yep.
But I get the language straightened out, I'll report to you all on that.
I mean, the thought was that we'd have an objective standard, so that, you know, you have, MDOT says you gotta have two, but you can't have two.
Right.
Or we say we gotta have two, but then DOT says no.
Exactly.
Right.
Right now, I don't know what the standard would be if somebody says they only want one.
It looks like it's left up to the
Left the
planning
plane
board.
board with no op,
May,
yeah, that's,
it's going
that's.
to May,
that
I'm not
always-
quite sure we wanna do that.
That gives them the authority to say, yeah, you can have two.
Well, that
you
was
don't
the
need
way
two.
that the chairman on presented it to
Yeah.
us, it was
Right.
that MDOT standard in there.
Yeah,
I didn't pick it up, my apologies.
if
I don't know if I
DOT
messed
says
you
no,
up or
then
not,
we
but I
have
mean,
no
it's-
choice
Right.
but to allow one.
Right,
Yeah, to allow one.
Right.
I mean,
But for instance, if DOT said yes to this particular applicant, if DOT says yes, you can have two entrances, it's gonna cost him an extra $150,000 to get a second entrance
right,
on his property.
but,
but the other thing, Phil, too, on that one, if I may speak to it, Chair. The fact is, turn out it's still, you would be only swinging one way. You don't have a right and left hand, because you're not accessing on a different road.
And the planning board public hearings say nothing about DOT.
well, yeah, they've got a public hearing coming up.
Yeah,
It's on this too,
Thursday.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
it's on this,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah,
I
July
understand.
25th.
yeah.
So I'll talk with Ted tomorrow.
Item
Yeah.
1, 2, and nothing mentions,
Okay, I'm not quite sure why that happened.
Yeah.
I didn't even catch it. I'm sorry about that.
All right, all good there, Dan, AV.
So, doing a little bit of research kind of on my own for, the new municipal building. You know, there's been talk about, we have to make a decision, cause there's been talk about, making sure that we have stuff, for the public to see when we have our meetings. Now, there are two avenues, it's either have it on TV or live stream it like the RSU 21 does. Those are two different things, there are there's different equipment needed for those, and I just kinda wanted to throw that out to the board to give it some thought, because we as a board, I think, we're gonna have to make that decision on which way we go. Whether we, and if we go TV, then you're gonna have to get with Spectrum and see if that channel is still available for us, but we need to make a decision on which way we wanna go.
Yeah.
Right, either on TV or we live stream it like the RSU does.
Now, that's what the RSU does now?
So what the RSU does now is they live stream it, is through US Stream. And
What's
US,
the pricing on that?
yeah, so, Todd had done some of that a while back. So US Stream, hosts and archives all of their information. It's a $99 a month charge. And for their plan, they have a silver plan, there's different plans that they use. But they have a silver plan, we'd have to see if we need, that much. I think that has to do with how much storage, how much stuff they're gonna put on it, but we'd have to look into that. And then we'd wanna, purchase the proper equipment for that. There's what they call the video box that they use. So, we kinda have to go down that road. I haven't looked into the TV piece of it. I think we're better live streaming, but that's just my opinion. Just kinda wanted to throw that out to the board, and maybe we can talk about it at some point in time, relatively soon. I think we should make a decision as to which piece we go, and that could be part of some subcommittee meetings.
What did what did the Kennybunk Selectmen do on the Kennybunk board?
They use a TV.
Oh.
And I haven't dug into that
Yeah.
one yet, but that requires even more stuff, right? 'Cause I think if we.
You're talking cameras, you're talking production
Right.
equipment, you're talking $25,000-$30,000.
Yeah, I think what they used to do is, I think they used to tape it, and then they would burn a CD and they would provide it to Spectrum.
Yeah,
Okay.
And Spectrum would, they would upload it onto their TV. Now, live, I'm not sure what they do live, I'm not 100% sure, cause now their meetings are live now, aren't they? It's been a
they've
while
always,
since I've.
they were live before, I mean,
Yeah.
because the fact is, when we were going through this bouncing, dancing game of the RSU beforehand, okay? I remember going there and running my mouth and speaking my piece.
What? You?
Yes. And the fact is, it was live, I mean, at the time, but they also replayed it through the period of time of between this meeting and the next meeting for their 2-week period. I mean,
But if it's live streamed, then somebody can go on the website for USA Live Stream and they can click on any archives and bring up whatever meeting is there.
Right. They can do it right now, they can do it right through the RSU 21
Okay.
website. We would set it up on our website,
Okay.
so they can go in and just,
We're still gonna need cameras, audio, that
Right.
kind of stuff in order to live stream it, but
yeah, I mean, that one box that they have, that kinda takes the video, takes the audio and kinda puts it all together, that box itself is $750.
okay.
Okay, and then, it's not a real expensive camera, I think if you go the TV route, you need to have a little bit more expensive camera. But the thing with the TV is, I remember Todd looking into this, and we did not have a time slot. Arundel, there was, argument that, oh, yeah, we did, but that was never written into the contract, if I remember correctly. That we did not have a time slot to do that.
There's a variety of factors there, and I think probably Todd is absolutely correct, I don't think you have a slot.
And I don't know when that contract is due for renewal, it was.
Oh, it's way overdue. Yeah.
Yeah, so.
In that particular thing, what I found, what generated most of the response by communities that really got involved in it, is that they were taking, you can take up to 5% of the income that's being generated from cable, not through pay-per-view or anything like that, you can take 5%, put it into account, and what that money was being used for was to buy your audio-visual equipment,
Right.
camera equipment, and all that kind of stuff to set something up.
Right, they didn't have pay-per-view then.
But you don't, I mean, to try to do that now, I think you'd be really up against
Yeah.
several years to get
I,
through that
you know,
process.
there's people that are gonna say, well, geez, I don't have internet, so we can't live stream it, but, I mean, in today's world, I think the majority of the people have internet anyways, you know, and a lot of the older folks, they have the internet because they like, you know, they do things, you
Right.
know, so, but that's just my input, so, you know, maybe we can bring it up at another meeting, we can discuss a little bit at our subcommittee meetings, but I think this board ought to send some sort of direction which way to go, and
Is that $100 a month, is that unlimited live stream? So like planning board and budget board and?
I don't know, we'd have to know, they offer different plans, and I remember Todd talked about silver plan, I think there was a premium plan, I forget what it was, but I know that the RSU uses their silver plan, and it's $99 a month, that's
Yeah,
through US Stream. Now, there are other providers, but they use US Stream, so.
Thanks, Sam. All right, other business, I need the payables approved and payroll.
It's all payable,
Oh, this is both payable.
yeah, they're both payables. That's the last one from the last fiscal year and the one for this one. So moved.
Motion's been made by Velma,
Second.
seconded by Dan, all those in favor? Any other business kicking around?
Move to adjourn at 7:58.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second,
Seconded by Velma,
Yeah.
all those in favor?
yeah.
Thank you, Marty, it's always a pleasure.
Well, like I said, I had some of the planning board